Travis Holmes with the Duval Dive podcast, Fans First Sports Network, and BigCatCountry.com here with your Jacksonville Jaguars update. For those of you who missed it, the Jacksonville Jaguars general manager, James Gladstone, met with the assembled media right after the introduction of the 9 free agent signings for the team. It was a pretty good one, if I must say so myself. James is pretty clear in how he speaks. He's going to tell you kind of how it is, and he's not one for the coach speak generally. Like he still has a few things where he gets it out, but yeah, you tell me. Uh, he did mention that these free agent signings that were brought in by the team were all individuals who were brought in to be able to raise the floor for this football team. Kind of what we discussed on Tuesdays and Wednesdays Duval Dive podcast. Take a look at that on YouTube or your favorite podcatcher. And he stated that every player that they brought in was someone who helped them acquire that standard for the team. He did mention the versatility that was offered by Jordan Lewis, formerly of the Dallas Cowboys, who's going to be playing slot corner for the team, but also stated that his ability to be extra versatile, along with Jarian Jones's ability, who trains with Jordan also in Texas. Didn't know that until yesterday from Jordan. But yeah, they both have inside-out versatility and offers the defense a lot of flexibility there. I thought that was very interesting, but also the versatility of Eric Murray. While that didn't come up specifically in Gladstone's presser, that did come up from the Jacksonville Jaguars when they released their free agent hunt 2-minute video on the YouTube. So check that out from the Jaguar social medias. And we have a little snippet from it right here.
All right. Eric Murray, he's physical at the point of attack on aggressive wise. He uses his hands as well. He's a good tackler in the core and running the alley tracks as well.
I like his game. I like his game.
Yeah. So as you heard there from Anthony Perkins, the Jaguars defensive back coach, he's, Eric Murray, former Houston Texans safety. He's physical at the point of attack on aggressive blocks, a good tackler, good at running the alley in the run game, and has aggressive hands. Like that to me matches what we watched on tape. I watched 5 of his games, full games, every single snap. And he's very versatile. He's moved all over the field. Again, one play he's at free safety, next play he's at strong safety, line up in the slot on the next one in the press alignment, and someone who's aggressive as far as how he tackles. Very rarely is going to be in that wrong spot, and he's going to be aggressive dog moving 100 miles an hour. Like I am a fan of that versatility across the defense because Jarian Jones is apparently going to be one of your outside corners, but he also gives you inside-out versatility. So that can be a good thing for the defense overall because as it stands, it sounds like you're going to have Jordan Lewis playing as one of your outside corners, at least on some downs, maybe early downs, and then move him to the slot, for those passing downs. And then you also have the options with Jarian Jones playing the opposite slot in the dime packages or in, just playing outside on those passing downs. So I love that answer from him. You get multiple. Again, you get multiple. You can be very variable as far as your defense is concerned with that versatility. And that applies for a lot of the guys they brought in, even on the offensive side, maybe with Patrick Mercury Macari. And we talked about him on Wednesdays. Duval dived in the early morning, episode. So definitely take a look at that. But in addition, he also discussed Brenton Strange, the Jacksonville Jaguars tight end, who was apparently going to be your starting tight end for this team. Take a listen.
You mentioned him at the combine with Brenton Strange. Big expectations for him after all the moves, etc.
Yeah, I think any fan that's following closely would label Brenton as somebody who's ascending and ready to take another step given the opportunity to do so. He is someone who embodies exactly what we're hunting up, so we're glad to have him already on roster. His strain, his finish on blocks is something that we're really excited about when he's got the ball in his hands. He's not interested in going down when the first defender approaches.
Yeah. And that is, for the most part, that's the answer. Like Brenton Strange is going to be the guy at tight end. And just like, the tight ends for the Los Angeles Rams, just like the tight end for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, for the most part, these are guys who are not going to leave the field in this offense. Like they played 90% to 100% of snaps. And I know Cade Otton's situation is obviously a little bit different for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2024, since they did lose their top 1 receiver for 3 games and really top 2 receivers for the second receiver in Chris Godwin for 7 games of the season. But nevertheless, yeah, you're going to be on the field 90% of the time, so you have to be able to block and do both things. And Britton Strange does have that in space. He showed that to you in the 2024 season and rose to the occasion. Looking forward to that. And again, great answer from James on that one. I did want to mention fantasy football people, that doesn't necessarily equate to Brenton Strange having this explosive season like an Evan Ingram, because again, it's about blocking and pass catching. And even when you look at Cade Otton, what he did for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with their top two receivers being out for some time, that only resulted in a 600-yard season, 4 touchdowns, 59 receptions in 14 games. So take what you will from that, but I just don't want to go. I don't want folks to go out there and blow all your fab early, or drafting early in fantasy football season. With the Brendan Strange thing, it may be big, it may not be big. I just don't want you to go crazy over it. That's all I'm saying. But also, the big highlight, I should say, the big takeaway from the day was when James Gladstone was asked about why there's no defensive edge, no defensive linemen or edges have been brought in to date. The great Mia O'Brien, shout out for that question. Take a listen from the Jaguar Social.
If you could evaluate, you guys didn't address defensive line, edge, in terms of your approach of what is already here and maybe what still needs to be added to the roster on those positions.
Yeah, we got 10 picks in this year's draft. We're going to have some spots that are actually open for them to insert. So, if you add a veteran at this point, could be just standing in the way. We're going to allow these rookies to, get a chance to get out on the field and help us this coming fall.
Now, I don't know what that means to you, but it sounds to me, if I'm believing this man, he seems to be very clear in what he has said from day one, as far as his free agency process, and as far as his draft process, as far as his team building process has come to fruition at this point. So if you were to believe what James is telling you at his face value, sounds like the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be drafting a defensive tackle moderately early in this draft. That doesn't mean first round. That can simply mean within its first 3 to 4 rounds. So again, that's looking at your Mason Graham, the defensive tackle out of Michigan, at your number 5 pick. That could be someone like a Derek Harmon, the defensive tackle out of Oregon. Maybe if you were to trade back, or if you were to be able to get him in the second round. You got a few different options. Kenneth Graham is a name that keeps coming up. The other defensive tackle that pairs with Mason Graham was talked about to be a late first round prospect, maybe even an early second round. And Deontay Walker, the defensive tackle out of Kentucky. And again, this is such a deep NFL draft for defensive tackle prospects. You have a lot of options. And what folks aren't talking about is, hey, man, if Abdul Carter is somehow miraculously still on the board at the number 5 pick, they're probably running to the podium and using him as your designated pass rusher option. I know folks would hate it, but hey, man, I'm just taking a man at face value, and this is kind of what it says. And lastly, the James did also speak about the wide receiver prospect, the wide receiver addition they brought in from the Washington Commanders, Dyami Brown, basically stating that he took a bet on himself and what he sees with the team. In his role with the team. The fact that he was able to kind of explode late in the season, over 200 yards receiving, 229 yards receiving in the last 3 playoff games, averaging around just over 70, maybe even just under 80 yards per game with a touchdown. And the team they're forecasting him to build upon that and keep moving forward. So I'm ecstatic for that signing. We kind of talked about that on Tuesdays. Again, Duval dive. That was one of my favorite free agent signings. And I'm curious to see how they're going to use him. But I also see that as something where they may still bring in another receiver. Because if you have Dyami Brown as your number 2, that's a good thing. If you have him as your number 3, that's a great thing. So he's one of those guys who are absolutely voting, and he's betting on himself to land this contract. And that's what it means to have a 1-year contract. Is the guy who's betting on himself in contract year. There's $0 guaranteed as far as that contract is concerned. So if it's not working out in camp, or if it's not working out in the season, okay, I mean, that's just a part of the process. So I'm okay with that signing, even though some folks are like, it's $10 million. Man, $10 million for wide receiver is nothing. Like, it's dope. That's a great signing, again, with nothing guaranteed. But also, I wanted to lastly mention, because This literally is happening as I'm recording. The Jaguars are reportedly also hiring Jake Team from the Rams as their from the Rams as our senior vice president of football analytics, per his sources. That's again via Seth Walder with ESPN. He's basically stating that Team was was previously the director of data and analytics with the Los Angeles Rams, and now he is following James Gladstone from the Rams to the Jaguars. And if you don't know what a director of data and analytics is, basically Team and the pro scouts, they run programs that track trends and patterns in the rival team's draft selections. So he helps with the draft process in very many ways, kind of just telling your team, hey, what do we expect other teams to do? So that helps us kind of set our draft board. So it's this perfect timing for him to come on to the Jacksonville Jaguars before the upcoming NFL draft. And it basically outlines like, hey, one team drafts receivers. Do they only look for players who run a sub 4.40? Or, when another team drafts offensive linemen, do they remove certain players with short arms from their board? Are they, how are their character or injury flags weighed by certain teams? So he's one of those analytics people who kind of help them set their draft board and kind of figure out their strategy as far as, setting their draft to get all the players that they want to be able to get maybe in the next round instead of drafting them for this round. We will have a write-up on that on BigCatCountry.com, so stay tuned. Keep a lookout for that. And as always, that's what I got for you guys. But go Jaguars and tune in to BigCatCountry.com. Tune in to the Duuuval Dive. Like and subscribe. Appreciate you guys stopping by.